Usually the profits are the same or even higher with biodynamics, and part of the reason is because with biodynamics you get a premium, just like you do with organic food. And that premium can range anywhere from 10 to 100% more. Studies that look at environmental quality comparing biodynamic with conventional systems, or comparing even organic with conventional systems, the biodynamic and organic come out on top. You have less erosion, you have less potential for groundwater contamination, less movement of nitrate down the soil profile that can get into the groundwater. Obviously you don't have the synthetic pesticides that you're putting on, so there won't be the residues in the crop, and there won't be those going into the groundwater either, or running off the soil. So when you look at environmental quality, that's higher on the biodynamic and the organic farms versus the conventional farms.
This is for the powder that we are
Oh, I see. Oh, here we go.
And then the final thing would be if you look at energy efficiency. I haven't seen studies looking at biodynamic with conventional farms, but there have been a number of studies that have compared organic with conventional farms, and the biodynamic farms would be very similar to the organic. And in those studies, the organic farms are always more energy efficient.
These are about little over 3 tons of sending for processing. Yes. In fact, we have to send in about 20 tons. So daily we are picking about 3 tons and sorting.
When we talk about sustainability, it's basically a utopian idea where a farm has to be building the soil.
Wow, that's good.
Conserving the natural resource base, producing adequate yields of high quality, making a profit, being socially responsible so that you're paying your workers a good wage, you're giving them retirement benefits, you're giving them medical benefits. And you're also environmentally sound. So you're not polluting the groundwater, you're not eroding the soil, you're energy efficient. It's all those things.
Look at this. Beautiful shot. Wow.
When someone says, oh, my farm is sustainable, it doesn't matter what the system is, you measure all those indicators. And when studies like that have been done, biodynamic and organic farms come out better. They tend to be more sustainable than conventional farms. And so in the long run, they're much more sustainable. The problems that we are experiencing that are causing concerns about conventional agriculture are the following. We see areas where we have groundwater contamination. Because we now have contamination of pesticides and nitrates in groundwater, people drink that water, they're now concerned about our agricultural systems. We have erosion. That's a problem with a number of conventional agricultural systems. We also have farm worker safety, farmers being exposed to pesticides, that's a question. Energy is a big question. Some microorganisms can actually fix nitrogen by themselves or in association with plants, and they can take that nitrogen from the atmosphere and give it to the plants. Well, now we can take it, but it costs us energy to do it. We use fossil fuels. That is a big concern as we go into the future because the cost of energy is so expensive.
In this particular one farm, south of India, where they've got a salt problem, you know, there's just no biomass there at all. There's no humus in the soil. There's no absorption of the rain just runs straight off. There's no water in the underground, and they're still having to irrigate because they've got so much chemical. They've been putting so much chemical on the land since the Green Revolution to neutralise that and to grow the crops. They've over-irrigated, they've taken all the sweet water and all they're left is salty water. And so they're irrigating with salt water, so they've got a white crust over the whole of the land, you know. We are actually in a pretty bad situation. Probably I'll talk more about this than perhaps the biodynamic part, is actually the water, how we've got to have water to go on living. We can't drink salty water because it makes you thirsty.
I have seen the farmer debts has increased just because of chemical farming. With the high cost of seed, other thing, he has to go for higher input. That is, they recommend go for higher fertilizers, higher dose of pesticides. No doubt my farmer got higher yields, but he forgot that with these higher yields, higher debts are increasing just because of higher cost of input. And lot of other problems such as health problems, very much health hazards to young children's coming progeny was very much affected. Then we started thinking this is nothing but the result of chemical farming which we are seeing, and this came from the farmers themselves.
As the failure and true cost of chemical agriculture escalates, thousands of small farmers are turning to biodynamics.
Well, the water problem is actually finding water, the wastewater, which is mainly water from the washing the dishes, is just running away. And it's fairly pure because they don't use soap, they use wood ashes for cleaning the dishes. And so you've got a wood ash combination there, which is fine, and that can be saved and used regularly on the compost. That would be enough to keep all this compost we saw moist.
I have seen that the farmer growing his farm with biodynamics, the water holding capacity has increased of the soil. Soil porosity has increased. Not only that, during heavy floods and heavy rainfall, very good vertical penetration is there. And it has helped to increase our water table.
The other good thing is that people are reporting that they're using up to 50% less water in biodynamic agriculture. So if you imagine a country like India where they use a lot of water in agriculture, using half of that, that's a huge saving.
Organic farming sustains in drought, but only I can say that organic farming and biodynamic farmers can sustain when there are low rains, no water irrigation facilities.
In the public perception of the West, India is an undeveloped country. Small family farms dominate the rural sector. Sustainable agriculture, farming that is not controlled by corporate agendas, is the key to a harmonious society. And there's nothing undeveloped about that.
During chemical farming, just due to higher debts, our farmer was away from his family. Always he was worried about his family prosperity, and he was not happy. His family members were not happy, committing a lot of suicides and not going for education. But this organic revolution has brought up a very great social change. Now whole family is again united. They are respecting their elders, living together, working in the farm together. Even they are involving their women. They are thinking of organic. They are always eating organic, and they are working for organic. Harmony has developed. Then our farmers are interacting. All the youths have come together. They are helping one another. They are solving their problems. Even if this person is doing BD compost, everybody will come and help him. Then they will complete this work. Then they will go to another phase. Then they will go to Sunil's field, then Anil's field, and collectively they are doing. And whatever the difficulties they are facing, they are overcoming these difficulties. Electricity, just they will have this idea. Labor problem, they will do themselves. Then if there is a shortage of cow dung, one farmer will give to another farmer. Like this, they are helping and solving their problems. Every problem they are solving. Sitting together, working together. That is a great change which we are bringing in rural prosperity. Now we are giving them another messages besides agriculture. That is health. That is about education, family planning. We are bringing all these things to bring an integrated, holistic rural prosperity.
As far as the children and their family situation is concerned, I would like to tell you, we have an open house event every year, you know, where the farmers and their families come, and it's like an interactive event. One of the ladies came up to speak, and she said, you know, I'm so happy to be doing organic and biodynamic farming. I'm happier, the situation, my family situation is happier. I can now afford to send my children to school, and not only that, I can afford a little bit extra for them. She says when we were doing chemical farming and we were doing, chemical farming, we were spending so much more. We were constantly in debt. I could have never dreamt of providing these things to my children that I am doing now. These are the words of that lady who, it brought tears into our eyes when she said something like this, because we here talk of the economics of separate farming systems, but this is how it affects them.
These are the beans which are washed, then these are kept in the trays, and this weighs 500 grams.
People in the market have realized the importance of organic food as a part of health, and so they are ready to pay higher price.
Lemon, this is
As the quality is good, keeping quality is good, smell is good, taste is good, and this is making a clear-cut difference from a conventional farm to the organic farming.
Then black sesame again. Nuts.
Commonly known as peanuts in our country.
Peanuts.
Peanuts. The Patel farm is so productive, they process a range of fruits and legumes that are sold across India. A sustainable farm is a regenerative, living organism that maintains its productivity and usefulness to society indefinitely. It is resource conserving, socially supportive, commercially competent, and environmentally sound.
What is at heart wrong with chemical agriculture is that there's no room for the spirit to enter or to be thought about. It's all what you put on is what you get back. But here, with biodynamic agriculture, you have to have a sort of gap between what you put on and what you receive.
Okay, pass.
Matter is never without spirit, and spirit is never without matter. In such a way that we say we will to do all material things in the light of the spirit, and we will so to seek that light of the spirit that it evokes warmth for us in our practical activities. So you feel you're doing the right thing. Not that you're going to get a good place in heaven, but you're doing it because you want to help people.
This cap was my father's, Peter.
What's that?
The cap.
The cap was your father's?
Yeah.
Gosh. That was lovely.
Honorable MK.
Very nice.
Bhagya.
The Sardar Patel farm operates a very successful fresh organic box scheme throughout the city. In a globalized market, local agriculture that returns independence to farmers and enables direct contact between growers and consumers is a revolution. in stark contrast to every other crowded corner of India, an almost empty toll road now rings the country. Too expensive for marginal farmers to use, this massive infrastructure is funded by international aid and loans. It is designed to support industrial agriculture, enabling India to participate in a globalized free trade market. At the Mahatma Gandhi Ashram in Ahmedabad, we are reminded of the essence of Gandhi's message: food sovereignty, the right of all people to define their own food and agriculture free of international market forces. In 1930, Gandhi led the legendary Salt March. It was an act of civil disobedience against British law that made it illegal to manufacture, collect, possess, or trade in salt.
We also want the similar independence where we have our own freedom to grow whatever we want, and to eat whatever we want. We don't want any Monsanto or Syngenta to tell us what seed we grow, what crop we should harvest, and what food we eat. In India, more than 60% of the Indian population are dependent on farming, and they are mainly the small and marginal farmers with maximum of 1 hectare of land. And if they will be taken to the court for infringement of patent and will be fined for about 1 million or 2 million of rupees, you can imagine what will happen. The major campaign in India which is going on is promoting and encouraging the alternative forms of agriculture. Whether you call it organic farming, you call it biodynamic farming, you can call it natural farming. These are basically non-toxic, non-chemical forms of farming where farmers are practicing a farming which doesn't require any use of chemicals. But the second advantage is that they are not required to use Monsanto seeds. They are not required to use any hybrid seeds in these sort of alternative forms of farming. Once you have the seed in your hand, the indigenous desi varieties of seeds, they can plant it year after year. They are exchange it with the neighboring farmers. They can sell it as seeds. While if they grow Monsanto seeds, they can't even use it next year. Not only because it has got patent on it, but this is genetically not allowed. In several areas in India, the movement is going on to declare their region, their villages, their taluks as no GMO zones. Then there are farmer unions who are putting their act together to tell their farmers, to tell their cadres not to grow BT cotton, not to buy chemicals.
You know, if you link organic, biodynamic to the Gandhian philosophy and thinking, I think Gandhi really wanted the villages to be self-sufficient. By building up the knowledge base of farmers, the farmers can really become independent. They don't need to depend on external resources, which means they save money. They don't have to buy costly pesticides or fertilizers, and in a way, you are teaching them to use their resources to the optimum, thereby reducing your dependency on the outside world. And in a way, one of the core functions of biodynamic is to close the cycle. The farm should be able to produce what it needs for its soil fertility, etc. So I think there is a direct correlation, and I'm sure Gandhi would be very happy to see the growth of the organic and the biodynamic movement in India.
The gene revolution is destroying the genetic base of our food supply. The Indian subcontinent once grew 30,000 varieties of rice. Today, there are no more than 15. The new varieties are environmentally unsustainable and nutritionally deficient. With soils destroyed by Green Revolution chemistry and irrigation now using 2/3 of all sweet water, a genetic quick fix is being promoted to rescue failing crops and ruined soils. In a rural landscape otherwise devoid of advertising, Monsanto's fluorescent green and orange signs are everywhere. 15 years of internationally guided market reforms have unleashed a second wave of agrochemicals and biotech seeds across India with devastating effect. Biotech seeds cost nearly 400% more than conventional seeds. Farmers often find their yield is 30% less. The quality of genetically modified cotton is markedly lower. It has no resistance to India's primary cotton pest, the pink bollworm. The balance of nature is so disrupted, other pests proliferate, and pesticide use increases.
Weedicide.
Seed dealers get huge commissions from suppliers.
2,4-D is a hormone, recognised hormone in weedicide.
No, I see.
It's old as the hills.
Farmers are often forced to take the genetically modified seeds as part of a credit package.
Chemicals and pesticides.
A 2006 report found that 60% of Indian farmers using genetically modified seeds could not recover their investment, let alone feed their families.
Late Wednesday, in his first trip to the country, he was greeted the next day.
In despair, 150,000 Indian farmers have killed themselves since 1993. Some drink their pesticides, while others burn, hang, or drown themselves.
And we have stories in the corporate press in India which are unbelievable.
In March 2006, Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and U.S. President George W. Bush signed an agreement that could bring Indian agriculture under the control of multinational corporations.
Thousands of demonstrators took to the streets. Crowd estimates varied from 250,000 to 700,000.
Under the guise of patent rights and seed ownership, this agreement will impose a new kind of serfdom on the rural people of India.
Tens of thousands of farmers have committed suicide. And yet, we arrived here with these corporates like AES and Cogentrix and Unipal. All of them have such dubious records. It's really unbelievable. And yet, if you see the way the CEOs and the corporates are fawning over him, and I have to mention this, that
with man only a step ahead of his enemy, new weapons are being devised in the research laboratories. Thousands of new compounds